Alright, hello there. This is Caldwell, and I'm a Year 2 candidate. I am an economics and CTE computer science and video game design teacher at Marina High School, and I want to take a second to share inquiry cycle number 3. For this inquiry cycle, I wanted to focus in on assessing for student learning, and specifically how I can increase my knowledge of different forms of assessment, expand my assessment toolbox, and use the results of those assessments to truly guide my teaching and my guiding objectives for each of my units of study. Now, I've had some experience utilizing different forms of assessment in the past, but this year with distance learning, as we all know, things have been turned a little bit on the side. So I wanted to really expand my resources, expand the tools that I was using in order to get a variety of feedback from my students, both diagnostic, formative, and summative assessments. So I really wanted to utilize a different, wide variety to tap into my students' learning styles and to really gauge their understanding throughout the unit, and then use that information to guide my instruction, and then ultimately reach our summative assessment to really see their level of understanding, and then also use that information, as I talk about here on my ILP form, to provide students with feedback, and participate with other stakeholders like counselors, other teachers, and parents, and really just kind of expand my assessment strategies. So I want to take you through a few awesome tools that I've been using throughout distance learning and specifically throughout this cycle to really utilize a variety of assessment. Now, the first awesome tool that has been a big go-to for me this year has been utilizing interactive peardeck presentations. These allow me to create Google Slide lectures that students log in utilizing the peardeck add-on, and we can all engage and interact. These are awesome because I can pose questions to the entire class, get diagnostic and formative feedback from them, and kind of check for understanding along the way. It's really cool because every student has a chance to chime in, where in the past, one or two students might be raising their hand. In peardeck, every student has an opportunity to answer in on a device, and then I can see all their responses. I can quickly assess, solve questions, clarify issues, scaffold in any extra information. I just love this tool. I can utilize it throughout my lectures for different purposes. They have, they can pull questions. We can gather formative diagnostic feedback. We can even actually graph and draw on slides. So it really allows me to get some good feedback as I'm going through my lecture slides, check for understanding, review topics, create graphs, draw right on there, and really it's increased my engagement, but it's also been a great tool for sort of a diagnostic and formative assessment. Now, when it comes to a couple other useful tools, Kahoot, big time live quiz games. I can assign these live synchronous or assign them to students asynchronously, so I use them a lot in my economics class. There's a huge library that I'm able to tap into, and then I've also created a few of my own along the way. Another awesome tool that I came across that I've had the access to is called Nearpod. Nearpod allows you to make video lessons and stop throughout the lesson and pose questions, a variety of questions, of reflections, multiple choice, short answer, checking for understanding, and then I end up with a nice feedback on that. And I can assign these asynchronously for students, which I normally do, and they're also available to do synchronously with the class. So another great tool right there. Another one great for for gaming and for checking for understanding and for review overall, Quizlet. I go through and create these for each of the units of study with all of our study cards, and then students can quiz each other. We can do live sessions where they can challenge each other, and then I get feedback on that when we do live sessions with a full readout of all their responses and things like that. Another awesome tool that I've come across is utilizing Flipgrid. Flipgrid allows me to have students record short video responses. So it's really cool for different styles of learning. If students might not be the strongest writers, some students are better at speaking and relaying their thoughts that way. So I've utilized this a lot in my game design class and also in econ for current events and for posing questions. They respond. Their videos are posted to a class stream if I choose to share it out like that, so that they can listen to each other's classmates, get feedback from each other, and then I can go back and watch the videos, hear what their thoughts are. I usually give them a few talking points and then let them take it away. Okay, so it's really great though, because I can have them post to the class stream and hear each other's thoughts so that they can get some feedback from each other. And then I can also put it into private mode and have them send their responses just directly to me. And I find that when I do that, they are a little less shy, knowing that they're not going to, that not everybody's going to hear their responses, so they open up a little bit more and might go a little more in depth. Now, just kind of going back to some of the good old tools in my toolbox, utilizing discussion boards just as a way to gather some good formative feedback, and sometimes at the end of chapters for some summative assessment as well. Posing these academic discussion boards on Canvas makes it really easy to have these in here. We get lots of good feedback. Students are encouraged to respond to each other, and you can see levels of different responses. For a student that's a little bit on the higher end, we get some nice good paragraphs going in depth. Some of my other students that might be struggling with the topics, I can go back, reinforce these, and go and talk to this student and kind of go back and try to re-engage the topic, clarify any issues, and it really just gives me another formative assessment. Something else that I've been doing this semester, especially with distance learning, is creating custom Google Slide templates that I can customize based on the topic that we're learning, embed them into Canvas. We can do these synchronously or asynchronously, and it gives me some good feedback. I do this a lot for partner work, where I want to get some engagement going on the topics. We do breakout rooms, and I'll have small groups working on slides, or we'll do one big session where everybody's editing live on the same slide deck, and I can see as each group adds things in, I can go into their breakout rooms and help clarify or scaffold extra ideas and make sure that they're on the right track for that. So a couple of student examples right here. This was for Econ, Production Possibility, Frontier. This was a good example. I asked them to create a production schedule and then utilize that information to graph it onto Production Possibilities Frontier. So I create these slide templates completely from scratch. Sometimes I will, depending on the topic, there'll be more questions or interactive actions on there. If I come across a student like Mason here, and I check out his slides and I look, and I'm like, okay, you plotted your points, but you didn't graph the curve. I can go back and clarify and give him feedback. I can also, for a student like that might not have the best graph, or they might not be plotting the points specifically, I can give them good feedback and help just reinforce the ideas, and it gives me good formative assessment on it, whether they're getting it or not, and then fuels my objective and knows if I have to go back and spend some more time on it. This was another one that we did as I called it a team jam. So we did this in a breakout room session where I created this template on the 4 factors of production and then had students go in breakout rooms and fill these in. Great way to check for understanding after we had lectured the session before and to reinforce and go in there. So this group did a great job showing the 4 factors of production, and really impressed with this one right here. So came out really great. And then groups that didn't provide as many examples, I can go in during their break rooms, I can see what they're doing in live time and give feedback and support them that way. One last one for another strategy is using exit tickets and checking for understanding like that. Kind of like KLW, what do you know, what do you want to know, and what's a question you have. So for this exit ticket, it was kind of a reflection on what we're doing, and I found it very important during distance learning to get as much feedback from students and really try to ask them what they need. What am I doing well, right? I give them a chance to assess me and tell me, what am I doing well? What could I do better? What are your other teachers doing well? What are strategies that are working for you? And what are things that would help you and get through distance learning? It's been tough, okay? Engagement has been a big factor during distance learning. And it's been important for me to have a variety of resources and a variety of learning styles. Okay, so now when it comes to some of my summative assessment, when we get to the end of chapters, you can see here on Canvas, I'll have all of my lecture slides embedded in our learning section. We have some discussions, assignments, okay, so I'm getting feedback from them at the end of each chapter, making sure they're understanding concepts. And then when it comes to our review, we'll have quizzes, unit study guides. I have our Kahoot quiz embedded right there that we did synchronously this time, but then they can go back and review it. And then for this unit, I used a Canvas quiz. It was multiple choice and short answer. For this unit on business organizations, I decided to get creative, and I had them create a presentation for this business structures. They were researching different types of franchises they could start. They got to work with a partner, create a presentation, and then present to the class. So I was kind of assessing them on different levels for that. Not only on the information content on their slides, but then also their presentation skills and things like that. So it gave me a variety of feedback. And then ultimately, this assessment cycle, or this inquiry cycle, happened at the end of first semester and reached into second semester, but we were right when we were taking finals. So for my summative assessment, when we were getting down to it, and this was also with the opening a franchise example right there. And this was a great example of a group that did a really good job on the presentation, financial analysis, SWOT analysis, giving me some really good feedback, and just a great example of some student work right there. Now, when it came down to our final exam at the end of second semester, I really wanted to rethink my practice, because with distance learning, I have so many kids that are at home that I'm not looking over their shoulder while we're doing the exam, so I don't want it to be all staked on a multiple choice exam when I can't really watch them and see if they're opening up tabs and looking up things. So I decided to take a three-pronged approach. I decided to utilize a take-home final study guide, an in-class short written exam, and then also a Flipgrid video. So they had about 2 weeks to work on the take-home version, 100 questions, all in depth, cumulative from the entire session, and I asked them to do this by hand so that they weren't just copy-pasting. So students really had to go through, but it was utilizing our notes, our lecture notes, topics that we covered throughout the semester, 100 questions. So they wrote these out, took a picture, sent them in. So I've been using that to not just have them creating a Google Doc and then copy-pasting a bunch of information. I don't want to see that. I want to really have them writing down, and then I'm able to go through and kind of spot check on certain questions. Okay, so every student turned in this take-home final exam, and then in class, on the day of the final, we did a short answer portion. Okay, so the short answer portion, what I did was I have, for each unit of study that we do, I had a must answer question, and then choose two. So they had a variety of questions to choose from, get feedback from them, and I can then go in, check out their must answer, and then check out the two that they chose, and give them some feedback in the comment section. And I found this really useful, and the students, I got some good feedback on this. And then ultimately, we finished off for econ here with a first semester reflection, and this really gave me a chance to get some more feedback from them. I posed one content question and then a variety of reflection questions on our semester, something that I could improve on, something that they felt they did well, something they felt they could do better, a piece of advice for incoming students. So it gave them a chance to reflect, and these were just shared directly to me, so I found it very useful. So throughout this inquiry cycle, I've had a chance to really expand my tool set, utilize this information to guide my instruction. And when I was doing my research for this, I came across this document, and it was kind of my guiding document throughout this, opening my ideas to different types and different principles of good assessment. A quote that really stood out to me: assessment is most effective when it reflects an understanding of learning as multi-dimensional, integrated, and revealed through performance over time, right? And when it fosters conversations, ongoing, allows us to to really know that their improvement and their performance over time is what's important, and then also to utilize that information to, talk with their counselors, talk with other teachers, involve their parents if needed, and give them great feedback. So I really enjoyed this cycle, learned a lot, and had a great time learning all about assessment and then utilizing it in my classroom. So thanks for listening.